Daylight restriction. With Quadraant legal. Introduction. In maritime operations, not every vessel can enter or leave a port at any time of the day. Sometimes, a ship can only move during daylight hours. This is known as a daylight restriction. In today's video, we'll understand what daylight restriction means, why it exists, and how it affects laytime and demurrage under charter party contracts. What is daylight restriction? A daylight restriction is a navigational limitation imposed by port authorities. It means that a vessel may only enter, leave, berth, or shift within port limits during daylight hours. Such restrictions are usually imposed for safety reasons, especially in narrow channels, shallow waters, tidal ports, or where pilotage is complex. Why do ports impose daylight restrictions? Ports may impose daylight restrictions in situations where the channel is narrow, the draft is critical, there are strong tides or currents, the vessel is unusually large, or visibility is poor at night. The primary concern is navigational safety. Daylight allows better visual control and reduces grounding or collision risks. Effect on arrival and NOR. Daylight restriction becomes legally important in charter party disputes. If a vessel arrives at night but cannot enter port due to daylight restriction, the question arises, has the vessel arrived for purposes of tendering notice of readiness? Under a berth charter, the vessel may need to reach the actual berth. Under a port charter, arrival at the commercial limits of the port may be sufficient. This distinction directly affects when laytime begins. Impact on laytime. If a vessel is delayed solely due to daylight restriction, whether laytime starts depends on the charter party wording. In some cases, once the vessel reaches the port limits and tenders a valid notice of readiness, laytime may begin, even if berthing waits until daylight. In other cases, if the charter specifically requires berth arrival, laytime may not start until the vessel physically berths. Therefore, contractual interpretation is key. WHO bears the risk. The allocation of risk depends on whether the charter is a port charter or berth charter. In a port charter, once the vessel reaches the port limits, the risk of delay may shift to the charterer. In a berth charter, delay due to daylight restriction may remain the owner's responsibility until the vessel reaches the berth. Thus, classification of the charter significantly impacts financial consequences. Daylight restriction and demurrage. If daylight restriction delays operations before laytime begins, demurrage does not accrue. However, if laytime has already commenced and daylight restriction interrupts operations, the delay may still count, unless the charter contains specific exceptions. This is why precise drafting and understanding of port conditions are critical in maritime contracts. Practical importance. From a practical perspective, shipowners and charterers must understand port regulations in advance. Draft clear clauses addressing navigational restrictions. Anticipate delays in tidal or restricted ports. Failure to account for daylight restrictions often leads to arbitration disputes over laytime and demurrage. Conclusion. To summarize, daylight restriction is a navigational limitation allowing vessel movement only during daylight hours. While primarily a safety measure, it has significant legal implications under charter party agreements. It affects arrival status, notice of readiness validity, laytime commencement, and ultimately demurrage liability. In maritime law, even daylight can have financial consequences. If you found this video useful, like, share, and subscribe for more maritime law content. Drop your questions in the comments and we'll see you in the next video. The information provided here is for educational purpose only and does not constitute as a legal advice or solicitation. Welcome aboard. Like, share and subscribe.